Hey everybody, this is Mr. Welch, just going to give you a little bit of help with your 4.3 homework. Remember that when you need to find your homework assignment, you look at the homework schedule, and you can see that on Monday the 12th, working on 4.3. Notice I scribbled out part of the assignment. That's so that we're focusing on 4 through 10 and 16 through 20. All right, let's jump back into that. We can see that right here in front of us. As we go through and try to understand what's happening here, our goal is to find two specific points. These are all lines, and there are 2 points that we're going to really focus on. If I talk about most lines, let's say we have a slanted line like this, it's going to cross what we call the y-axis somewhere, and it's usually going to also cross the x-axis somewhere. Now there are obviously horizontal and vertical lines that don't fit that category, but we typically want to know where these 2 points are. Okay, and on all the assignment today, they're all going to have 2 specific points. Now what's really, really useful to understand about these 2 points is that they have a special characteristic about their x and y values. For instance, anywhere on this line, no matter where I go, on this vertical line we call the y-axis, the x-coordinate, how far left and right I am from the center, is 0. What that means is that, by definition, to be on the y-axis, x must equal excuse me, must equal 0. Well, that's really helpful for taking one of these problems, like number 5, and saying, how in the heck do I figure out what the y-intercept is? To find the y-intercept, all I have to do is let 0 be the value of x. This equation would then be 3 times 0, which I know is 0. Minus 3y equals 9. And if I take the equation negative 3y equals 9, and I want to solve for y, I am going to divide by whatever's next to y. And in this case, that's a negative 3. So if I divide by negative 3, y will equal negative 3. So the first point that's on that line is at 0, negative 3. Okay. If I come to the second one here, okay, we're going to start that all over. What we notice about the second version or part of this problem, to find the other point, is that the x is not 0. It's got to be over here at 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But the y value, look at how high or low it is off of the x-axis. Turns out in this case, the y is 0. So we're just going to trade x is 0 for y is 0. So in the same exact problem, I'm now going to have 3x. I'd minus 3y, but since y is 0, all of that goes away. 3 times 0 is 0. I don't need it anymore. And that equals 9. The same thing that we need to do to solve for x, we'll just divide by 3, divide by 3. And in this case, we get a positive 3, 0. So these are our 2 ordered pairs. To find the x and y intercept, all we have to do is plug 0 in for one of them and solve for the other. So I think you'll do 4 through, was it 10? I want to say in the homework, you'll be doing 4 through 10 and then 16 through 20. So 4 through 10 is more of the exact same thing. 16 through 20 is a little bit trickier, only because they write the equations with these y equals forms. But it's not really more challenging. Let's take a look at number 20 as a quick example. Number 20 has y equals negative 2 plus 8x. And we want to solve this equation when x is 0 and when y is 0. So I'm going to come down here to my answer, and I'm going to put it like this. One time I'm going to let x be 0, and one time I'm going to let y be 0. Let's start with the first one. If I let 0 go into the x, the 8x gets canceled completely. Notice that the y is already alone, which means y will equal negative 2. So that's really convenient. When we have it written in this y equals form, finding the y-intercept is easy. However, we need to do it the other way around as well. So let's clean this up real quick and make that plus 8x again. Now I need to let y be 0. Well, that turns out to be 0 equals negative 2 plus 8x. And I'm going to have to go through some of the steps that we worked on in our last chapter where we learned how to solve for a variable. I want to get this x alone. To do that, I need to remove both the negative 2 and the 8. To do that, I'm going to start by removing the 2 by reversing its operation. Instead of a minus 2, I'm going to add 2. That creates 2 equals 8x. And last but not least, to get rid of this 8, I would divide by 8 and divide by 8. Now the calculator, if we did that, will give us a number of 0.25. The textbook would probably say 1/4, but 1/4 and 0.25 are the same thing. So I don't really care which method you use. But that's what we're going to do. We plug 0 in for x, get an answer. Plug 0 in for y, get an answer. If you have more questions or more challenges that you're not sure about, come let me know. But these 2 points are 2 points that are easy to then graph from. So if I can just plug zeros in and get numbers back, I could plot these 2 points. If I needed to graph this, 0, negative 2 is right there. And if that's 1, 1/4 0 would be like right there. And then I could create my line going up and down through there. So graphing lines becomes a lot simpler when we have 2 points that we can grab pretty easily. Good luck, and let me know what questions you have, and we'll see you in class.